What's up, all? This is Timur with the band Effendi. I'm going to share with you a story about the recording process for the solo for World. It's a pretty illustrative example about how you need to basically just pivot when shit doesn't work. So when I originally wrote the solo for the song, I essentially wanted it to be two things. First of which was it to be a crescendo of energy. It's a pretty long song. There's I think 8 bars that I had to solo over, so wanted to make sure that there was movement in it and it just didn't just die. So that was the first thing. Second thing was I wanted it to be a little bit more freeform, and just kind of break the boundaries of just sitting right on the beat. And when I ended up composing this solo, it worked really well in a live setting, and it was both those things. And so we practiced it live, worked fine. And then day comes where we lay down the solo, and I lay the main through line of the solo down, and it's just empty, right? It just loses that energy. It lacks the crescendo. The free form is fine, but it just sounds like it's moving against the song. So we're fuck, what do we do? We have these 8 bars that we need to solo over. How do we fix this? So once again, Omar comes through in a pinch. He comes to me. He's like, have you heard of Thin Lizzy? And I'm like, I think I've heard 1 or 2 songs. He's like, we should sit down and listen to Little Thin Lizzy because they do a great job of layering multiple guitars over one another to add more body to it and add more space to it. And if we can add some additional layers, I think we'll flesh this song out a little bit more. So that's what we did. We took a pause. We listened to some Thin Lizzy, and I was like, okay, I see what you're saying on this. Let's try it. So you can really hear this towards the end of the solo, where we needed that crescendo and that build, and to flesh it out a little bit more. We added additional harmonies, we added additional octaves, and then Omar would fade them in for different swells of the song, and really give that part a little bit more push and oomph. And honestly, the effect is probably my favorite solo throughout the entire album. It just has an emotional impact that I think the other songs, not that they don't have that, but I think this really captures it the most. So just an example of how, again, and this comes up a lot in this theme of, because we are primarily a live band who stepped into creating some studio stuff, how the two processes are just different. And you really do have to be flexible and nimble with tackling these things that pop up in a studio context that may not necessarily be there live.